What is really happening to the human brain when most of our conversations move to a screen? Are we building real relationships, or are we slowly training our minds to accept thinner, weaker versions of connection? Every day, millions of people attend meetings, classes, family calls, and friendships through glowing rectangles, without ever asking what this shift is doing beneath the surface. Neuroscience tells us that the brain does not experience technology as neutral. It rewires itself around whatever patterns we repeat most often. So, when eye contact becomes digital, pauses become delayed, and emotions are compressed into pixels, the brain does not resist. It adapts. The real question is whether that adaptation leads to deeper human bonds or quieter emotional distance. Virtual gatherings promise closeness across distance, but they also remove touch, shared space, and many subtle social signals. Some people report feeling more connected than ever, while others feel strangely lonely, despite constant interaction. This contradiction is not psychological confusion, it is neurological tension, and understanding it may define how future generations experience friendship, learning, aging, and wisdom itself. Virtual gatherings are no longer a temporary solution or a passing trend. They are shaping how friendships form, how teams work, how families stay close, and how ideas spread. From a neuroscience point of view, this is one of the biggest social experiments humanity has ever conducted. And the brain, as always, is quietly adapting in ways we are only beginning to understand. Let's take a future thought perspective for a moment. Instead of asking whether virtual gatherings are good or bad, neuroscience asks a deeper question. How does the brain change when human connection moves from physical space to digital space? And what kind of minds will emerge from this shift 10, 20, or 50 years from now? The human brain evolved for face-to-face connection. For thousands of years, survival depended on reading subtle facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, and timing. When someone leaned in, we sensed interest. When someone paused, we sensed meaning. In physical gatherings, the brain receives a rich flood of social information without effort. In virtual gatherings, much of that information is reduced or delayed. A slight lag in audio, a frozen smile, or a camera angle can change how a message feels. Neuroscientists call this social signal thinning. Your brain still tries to read the room, but the room is missing many of its natural cues. Dr. Matthew Lieberman, a social neuroscientist at UCLA, once said, "Our brains are wired to connect. Social interaction is not a luxury, it's a biological need." In virtual settings, that need does not disappear. Instead, the brain works harder to fill in the gaps. This extra effort shows up in a very familiar way. After a long day of video meetings, many people feel tired in a strange, heavy way. It is not physical exhaustion, and it is not exactly mental work either. It is social processing fatigue, and neuroscience now has a name for it. The brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus and interpretation, stays more active during virtual interaction. You concentrate more on faces, listen harder for emotional tone, and monitor your own expressions more carefully. This constant self-monitoring consumes energy. Over time, the brain adapts, but the adaptation comes with trade-offs. Here is where neuroplasticity enters the story. Neuroplasticity means the brain changes its structure and function based on how it is used. The circuits you use more often become stronger and faster. The circuits you use less can weaken, but they never fully disappear. With frequent virtual interaction, the brain begins to favor certain skills. Rapid visual scanning, short bursts of attention, and quick interpretation of limited cues become stronger. This can improve efficiency in digital environments, but it may also reduce patience for slower, deeper face-to-face conversations if balance is lost. Dr. Norman Doidge, author of The Brain That Changes Itself, explains it simply. The brain is plastic, but plasticity is a double-edged sword. What strengthens one ability can weaken another if we are not mindful. Virtual gatherings are shaping new strengths, not destroying the old ones, unless we abandon them entirely. Memory is another area where interesting changes are happening. In physical gatherings, memories are anchored by space, smell, movement, and emotion. You remember where you sat, who walked in late, or how the room felt. These details help the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, store experiences deeply. In virtual gatherings, the environment rarely changes. The same screen, the same chair, the same background repeats again and again. This sameness gives the brain fewer anchors for memory. As a result, conversations may blur together more easily. But the brain adapts here too. People begin to remember content more than context. Ideas, slides, words, and outcomes become the main memory hooks. This shift can be powerful in learning environments if used intentionally. Think about online classes or virtual workshops. Many learners report that they remember concepts clearly but struggle to recall emotional moments. This does not mean learning is weaker, it means learning is encoded differently. Dr. Eric Kandel, Nobel Prize-winning neuroscientist, reminds us, memory is not a single thing, it is many systems working together. Virtual experiences strengthen some memory systems while leaving others less engaged. Understanding this allows us to design better digital experiences for the brain. Now let's talk about wisdom, something rarely discussed in tech conversations. Wisdom is not just knowledge. It is the ability to integrate experience, emotion, and judgment over time. Neuroscience shows that wisdom relies on slow reflection and emotional depth. Virtual gatherings can feel fast, efficient, and compressed. There is often little silence, little informal time, and little room for wandering thought. This can limit the brain's default mode network, the system involved in reflection and meaning-making. But again, this is not a dead end. It is an invitation to adapt consciously. Future-focused neuroscience suggests that wisdom may evolve rather than disappear. Instead of forming through long physical conversations alone, wisdom may also emerge through repeated global exposure. Hearing diverse perspectives from different cultures in a single call was rare in the past. Now, the brain can integrate a wider range of experiences faster than ever before. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, a leading neuroscientist, says, "The brain is a prediction machine, constantly updating itself based on experience. Virtual gatherings provide new kinds of experiences, new patterns to predict. Over time, the brain builds models of connection that are more global and less local." This brings us to a crucial question. Can virtual gatherings create authentic bonds, or do they only produce shallow echoes? Neuroscience suggests the answer depends less on technology and more on intention. Authentic bonds form when the brain associates safety, meaning, and emotional resonance with another person. These associations can form online if interactions are consistent, emotionally open, and reciprocal. The brain does not care whether the signal comes through air or fiber optic cable. It cares about patterns. Daily life offers clear examples of this. Some people feel deeply connected to online communities they have never met in person. Others feel lonely despite constant digital interaction. The difference lies in emotional depth, not physical distance. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, can be released during virtual interactions. Shared laughter, meaningful conversation, and empathy still activate social bonding circuits. However, touch and physical presence amplify this effect in ways screens cannot fully replace. This is why hybrid connection may be the most brain-friendly future. From a future thought perspective, the healthiest brains may belong to those who mix modes wisely. They use virtual gatherings for learning, collaboration, and global connection. They seek physical gatherings for emotional grounding, ritual, and deep bonding. This balance keeps multiple neural systems active and resilient. As we age, these patterns become even more important. The aging brain does not simply decline, it reorganizes. Processing speed may slow, but pattern recognition and emotional understanding often improve. This is why older adults can offer insights younger brains cannot. Virtual gatherings can support aging brains if designed with care. Clear audio, slower pacing, and meaningful discussion help maintain engagement. Social connection protects against cognitive decline more than almost any other factor. In this sense, virtual connection can be a powerful tool for brain health. Dr. George Vaillant, who led one of the longest studies on human development, famously said, "Happiness is love. Full stop." From a neuroscience view, love means sustained connection. Virtual gatherings can support that connection when distance would otherwise break it. Looking forward, Brain research is exploring how virtual reality, haptic feedback, and AI companions may further change social processing. Future brains may learn to interpret digital signals as naturally as physical ones. The line between online and offline connection may blur at the neural level. What feels artificial today may feel intuitive tomorrow. But hope does not mean passivity. The brain adapts to what we give it. If we give it shallow interaction, it will become skilled at shallow interaction. If we give it depth, even through screens, it will grow depth. So the real question is not whether virtual gatherings are forging authentic bonds or shallow echoes. The real question is what kind of experiences we choose to create within them. Neuroscience shows that the brain is ready to evolve, ready to learn, and ready to connect. It always has been. As you log into your next virtual meeting, remember this. Your brain is not being damaged. It is being trained. Every interaction leaves a small mark, a small adjustment, a small learning signal. Over time, those signals shape who you become. The future brain will not be less human. It will be human in new ways. Wiser if we slow down, stronger if we stay connected, and healthier if we stay aware. And in that future, authentic bonds will still begin the same way they always have, with attention, care, and meaning. Thanks for watching. See you next time.